everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I am so excited for this upcoming conversation as we are diving into all things microdosing and the Microdosing Method program. We have a very special guest with us who will be sharing her journey. But before we get into it, I'd like to introduce our collaborator, Reverend Leah Linder. Leah is an ordained minister and a trained psychedelic facilitator with SETA Seminary. Additionally, she has a private naturopathic medical practice. Leah, I will pass it over to you to introduce our guests.
Wonderful. Thank you so kindly, Jamie. I am thrilled to be here again, sharing the beautiful testimonials of our wonderful SETA's members and how they have come into their journey and what their experience is. And so today on the call, we have beautiful Leigh Hurst. She is an envisionary here in Reno and spiritual leader and guide and does so many things in our community to help people manifest their true calling and their true potential in the world. And I could go on and on about how much I love and adore this human. But first, Leigh, could you give us a little bit about yourself, share a little bit about your background and how you first came to the practice of microdosing as well?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever we're at today. I'm Leigh. I own Purposeful Living here in Reno, Nevada. And that's a big request to shorten it up here in a few minutes, Leah. But, um, you know, pregnant in high school, decided that wasn't going to help much on my journey. So decided to have two more children. So I would have three, and going to college with babies that were 5, 4, and newborn. And I thought it was going to be psychology. So I studied psychology and gerontology, which is the study of aging. And then that wasn't enough. So I studied social work, gerontology, and then master's degree in gerontology, really thinking I was going to go down that path of aging, which I myself am, as of everyone else watching this. But then it turned into that wasn't quite it. It was purposeful living, living with intention, intuition, guidance, connecting to our purpose, while we master the tools that help us on this path. And what's interesting is I have a lot of trauma in my background and really didn't know how to work with it. Yes, you can, counseling and do all the things, probably until about 2011. Went to my first retreat. That's a really long story. Changed my life, came home, threw the television in the garbage, became vegetarian for 2 years, then went vegan. 2014, started really changing my life around, but still had a very big trauma that I had been carrying for over 30 years. And that trauma, so really quick, when I was 3 years old, my parents were fighting pretty bad. And it was always my job to get up and, sort of parent and see what was going on. And at this particular time, my dad had a gun to his head, and my mom was encouraging him to do it. And I was horrified, ran back to my room, jumped in bed. And I always talked to God back then, 3 years old, which is amazing. And God, you put me in the wrong place. You put me with wrong people. I'm not supposed to be here. Long story short, 16 years later, that happened to my dad. And I used to tell people that story. It was just a constant loop in my mind, even though I was doing things to pull myself into what I thought was my best self with education and things like that, being the first person in my family to do that. It still wasn't enough to get me out of this loop of telling people the story of my dad's suicide. They have accidental suicide on his death certificate. And he was sleeping, he was alcoholic, and he was sleeping on his pillow. And there was a gun under his pillow. And he must have touched it in the middle of the night, and it went off and it killed him. And I was 20 years old at the time. And so I lived with that my whole life. And I started seeing someone that energetically helped me change the story around, because if you give energy to it, of it's that adrenaline, you have to hear my story. My dad killed himself, and keep on that loop. And you don't really know how to get off that loop. One, someone helped me change the narrative of the story. Two, energetically had me connect with my dad on an energy level to allow the process to start healing. And as you start working on yourself with healing, all kinds of other things manifest and come in to help you and give you the tools. And one was microdosing. So it was the energy one, and then connecting with my dad. And then I met Pam, and she was talking to me about this medicine. And at first, it was a no for me, because I was raised in a household with drugs, with a lot of violence, alcohol. And so my whole life, I always thought that was the problem, was, being around drugs and all those type of things. So microdosing in my mind meant drugs. And who am I? I'm going to turn around at this stage of the game and start doing drugs? No, this is an absolute no. And talking to my friend Pam, um, it was very gentle, and I liked the things she was saying. I brought the medicine home. I told my partner, and he tried explaining to me, because he says, "What's the worry?" And I thought I was going to take this trip and not be able to have, let go of control, and just so many unbelievable ways of thinking that went on. And finally, between my partner and Pam, I think I waited probably almost a month, maybe 20 days, and I started taking it. And I was like, I don't feel anything. And then I got the next dose, or however you want to say that, the next pairing, and started taking that. And I noticed I wasn't talking about my dad anymore. Not that, not to say, I don't miss him, love him, all of those things. I wasn't stuck in the loop, I should say, of the overthinking and the constant thinking. I feel like I took that part of my life, put it into a suitcase so it's not quite gone, and set it down next to me. And the other struggle I had was when I first met my partner. Cheating had always been in my life with different partners, and I really thought that wouldn't happen in this relationship. 5 months into it, he got caught cheating. And so now I had two loops constantly going. And you can't function and be your best selves when you're stuck on the loop of destruction. By taking the microdosing, I don't remember exactly what date it was or how long it took. I noticed both of the traumas were in suitcases set down next to me. It's not that those things didn't happen, they just didn't have the importance that I was giving to them. Taking a breath. Thank you for listening.
It is so beautiful. Thank you so kindly for sharing that part of your journey.
Leigh, I was just curious, how did you make that shift with the around the dominant belief of, say, microdosing is a drug to then being open to it?
So, talking with Pam and talking with Justin, I have the experience of being around a lot of drugs, but not doing a lot of drugs. So, there's a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear. And one of the things is, I don't want to live out the rest of my days on those loops, because also, what am I doing? I'm being false. I'm doing everything I can to give everybody all these tools. But how can you do that if you're not taking the steps to work on yourself? You can't. It's false. So it's like, well, what is the worst thing that could happen? And I just, almost like an intuition thing of feeling and knowing, this isn't going to harm you. This isn't going to hurt you. Um, But then after taking it for a week or two, I thought, well, this isn't going to do nothing. I don't understand. This isn't doing anything. And then it was so, I think I like the word gentle, because I was raised around a lot of violence. And so I think, I don't want to say that was a trigger word. It's not a trigger word. It was a helping word. Um, it was a word that made me feel safe, that gentle. And I thought, I think this is going to be good. And let me tell you, it has been beyond my belief of what this type of thing can do for you.
Gosh, you're giving me tears in my eyes. Thank
Oh,
you so kindly for sharing.
you're so
Can
sweet.
you let us know what Seta's pairings you've tried?
So, of course, the little green bottle, which is the psilocybin, right? And
Mhm.
then the first one that I did, that's when I could not remember that first one. I have, and it's in one of my
Peace and harmony?
Peace and Harmony. It
Okay,
was
so
Peace
you're
and
on the same
Harmony.
pairing.
I
Mhm.
started I started with that, and I thought, I think I need to move in a little bit of a different direction. So I started doing Seeker. And honestly, I think any of it that you take is just going to help you the best that you need in that moment. I don't think like one is better than the other. It's just all for the highest good of my being to help me move through any of that
I
muck.
Yeah. Yeah, just, like, give you a little bit more of a opportunity, like you said, to it's not that you don't have those things that you're carrying, but you have an opportunity to set it next to you and say, "I see you, but I'm not necessarily stuck in the muck." I like to think about it as a river too, that when you're in the river, you are up to your eyeballs in the trauma, in the chaos, in the overwhelm of like being in the current and having all of this stuff around you. And microdosing gives you the opportunity to get up on shore. And not that you can't see that river, not that you can't see all of the stuff that is flowing down there, but you get a different perspective of it. And it's that gentleness of what you're saying of like, "Ooh, let me take you to shore." You can catch your breath, right? And then reorient to what your river is and reorient to what that flow pattern is, what that current is trying to show you, what it's trying to teach you, instead of being caught in the whirlwind of going downstream without having any means of pulling you out so that you can catch your breath. So that's beautifully. That thank you so much for sharing that story. So, beyond being able to, you know, take your suitcases and set them next to you, what other benefits have you been noticing in your body, whether that be through sleep or orientation of people or whatever that might be? What else have you noticed?
I don't, you know what? It's interesting that you brought that up because I had not, like before, of course, we have dreams and stuff like that. But the dreams, I feel like I just have so many more dreams than I did before. So when you said that, I thought, oh, maybe that's where that's coming from, is all these dreams are coming from the microdosing. Thank you for sharing that. I hadn't even thought about that. Good stuff. Um, the thing I wanted to say, and this might not, maybe you can help me, either one of you can kind of help me with it. I told my partner, because I wish I would have wrote down, and I'm sure we can look it up, the month that I started, how many months I've been microdosing. Because the other day I was having a conversation with Justin, my partner, and he was laying down. I was sitting at the foot of the bed and he was shaking his head and he said, "Wow, it's working even more." And I thought, what are you talking about? It's almost like, and I don't know if this is just my mind or this is how it works. The spaces of thought are less. Instead of having a million thoughts, and I know I've also, let's give Eckhart a little bit of credit because I've been doing a lot of his classes, but that's not quite it. Maybe it's a mixture of it with more of the microdosing on the bigger side of it. But there's a lot more space in between thoughts that you're not having to one thought after another. It's not that emotional vomit of just constant. I feel like it doesn't, I don't know how to really get the words out. I don't want to say it slows down thinking. That's not what that is. It brings more awareness, and you get a longer time to look at your thoughts before you're just spilling them and vomiting, emotionally vomiting over someone. I mean, mindfulness is such a, everyone throws that around, but at this stage of the game where I'm at taking it now, there's calmer thinking. Maybe you guys can help me. It's not quite coming out the way I want to, but instead of having to tell someone 10 things in one breath, it gives you more time to relax between each thought.
Yeah, perhaps it's helping you just focus in more clearly on what is the most important and most alive thing in your life to pay attention to,
Yes.
instead of being distracted with other things that don't really serve you anymore, don't really matter.
Truth. And it feels interesting when you tap in and know that you're doing that. When you can step back and be the witness of what's going on with all of that. That's amazing. Because it happened the other day and I was like, I feel, and this, like, you don't know yet, Jamie, but I'm like super, super, super sensitive. So I feel a lot of things that other people don't. And I remember being at a red light and I thought, oh my gosh, there's no need to hurry. Like, I had so much more space in my mind to not be carrying so much garbage that didn't matter. It was really brought to my attention that day. So something must have really been happening with it that day, because Justin picked it up and he says, wow, you're at a whole different, stage of it. And he goes, it's really working. I can't wait, to see it unfold. So thanks, Jamie, for helping me with that.
That's so beautiful. I love that you use the word witness. I think that so often we get caught up in, the whirlwind of everything that is going around us. But what I heard you say is that microdosing, it gave you the opportunity to take one step back and witness where your thoughts could have gone and where your thoughts presently were, and how those two have shifted, how you have given yourself the opportunity to pause and witness where you might have gone traditionally versus where you are now. And that
Mhm.
is so, so very powerful.
That's super powerful. That's
Mhm.
super powerful.
I am also curious, Lee, how you have noticed even the shift around your state of being and even how your nervous system is feeling.
Yeah, it's the state of being. It goes back to witnessing the flow of life a little more instead of feeling. I mean, yes, I everyone knows that I'm super busy all the time, but it's a different form of busyness. The nervous system, I can notice that also. It's just interesting when one of the things I've noticed when we wake up in the morning, we're in a state of maybe peace and calmness and relaxation. And for myself, I never noticed this before when I wake up in the morning. And this is I don't know if this is the medicine that brought it to my attention, but when I wake up in the morning, I wake up, I kind of open my eyes and my shoulders, and it's like, and now I can notice that I'm doing that and work on that, because I'm like, why is my body already in distress? And then, so I get up, do my morning routine, and then just start with meditation. And then any medicines or the things I need to take in the morning. So I hope that's what's next on this path for microdosing, is because it's brought awareness to the tension. Like, if my nervous system I was getting a massage the other day, and that's the best time, right? And so, I'm relaxing, kind of partially snoring, all this. And then I'm like, what is my system doing right now? And I said, oh my gosh, I can feel that tension coming up. Where is this coming from? So it helps you bring awareness to, you need to settle your nervous system. Everything is fine right now. So I don't know if that's how it works, or that's, mm, correct. I mean, I'm sure it is. That's what my body is experiencing, so it needs to. But it's really interesting showing me what my physical body is doing that's causing me, oh wait, no, I'm not supposed to be doing that right now. What am I doing?
That's so beautiful. And what I also heard you say is that when you were first talking about this, you said, "Oh, this is a drug, and I grew up around a lot of drugs, and I'm nervous about this drug." And you just used the word medicine. That when I take this medicine, that then these things I can witness in my body and I can have more awareness of where my nervous system is at. So, can you talk a little bit about how this has shifted from you from a brain perspective on this is a drug into no, this is actually medicine for me? Because I think that that can be so valuable because there's this very big connotation around any psychedelics, but especially mushrooms, that this is a recreational thing. And I know that you had that perspective, so I'm curious how that has actually shifted for you of no, this is medicine, this is truly, this is helping me.
That's a really good question, Leah. And it's really interesting because, most of my life being told, because I am very different, and you know, having a mom, no offense, mom, if you watch this, but that prescriptions are the answer and all those type of things. And there's a pill for that and this and this. And I know it shaped me. And you can go either way as a child, right? You can follow in your parents' footsteps and go down that path that you've been shown, or you can say, this is not for me. And so what's interesting is taking that medicine. It's not necessary that you have to take it to heal something, but that you want to have that in your system to have it teach you how life can be. That is the answer. It's not, if you want to stay in the craziness and chaos and the loops and stuff, you're more than welcome to do that. But this medicine is not used for, and then who am I to judge what's inappropriate services or inappropriate behaviors or actions, but it's used to teach your system that there is another way. And so what's funny about that is I can feel it working and doing different things out ever so slowly. And I'm a super slow person. So I feel very connected to this because I feel like this is a weird thing to say. The medicine is a part of me and my system and the way I operate. And so I called my mom to let her know because a few years ago I watched, I can't think what it's called, but it was Alanis Morissette, and I can't remember what the scientist's name was. And she diagnosed Alanis Morissette with HSP, and that means highly sensitive person. And I watched all 4 documentaries of it, and I was like, oh, finally, that's the answer. That's the answer. And so I called my mom to tell her, I said, I have this HSP. And she says, oh, thank God, Leanne, how do we get medicine for it? And I was like, oh, disappointed that that was her answer. And so I called her when I started microdosing, and I started telling her, I'm taking this for trauma and to let go of things and to see what happens. And she's like, oh, great. Now I have to tell my friends and my neighbors that my daughter's on mushrooms. And I was just like, you can't win. Just keep it for a practice, for ceremony for yourself, because you know what it's doing for you. You don't need to tell someone so they will be proud of you or for them to see in a different light. So thank you for asking that question. It is truly, it's very, I don't know if that quite sounds right to everybody. It's a form, the medicine is like a form of myself teaching me a new path.
So beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that perspective. Because so often, it is easy for us to pull ourselves out of our lived experience and say, oh, I have this diagnosis, and oh, I'm taking this thing for this thing. Um, I think that what I just heard you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that microdosing is a relationship that you have with the mushrooms. And it is not outside of you. It is not somebody else's something to hold or to participate in. Yes, that they can witness what you're going through, but really, this is your relationship with the medicine and what it is offering you, and that is so beautiful because it gives you an opportunity to take your power back. So often in medicine and in healthcare, we give our power to a provider to say, hey, help me, and what I heard you say is that this is giving you an opportunity to take your power back and say, oh, I'm going to have a relationship with this and work on this in the way that I need to, outside of every other being in my circle.
100% truth, sister. For sure. For sure.
So beautiful.
It's good
It
stuff.
gives me goosebumps and tears in my eyes. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, what we often find with even our clients, right, is that a lot of this work is taking your power back, right? Leah, you said it so beautifully and so articulately, is that oftentimes we are, um, I don't know, just like conditioned to where we look at doctors as the end all be all and really give our power away to them and feel like their word is God, right? And even when they're giving out diagnoses, oftentimes, I feel like doctors oftentimes forget how much weight that actually carries. And then for the person receiving it, them taking it in as if that is their life sentence and really them living that out. And so what's so beautiful about, what Leigh was sharing is that it's all around just this reclamation, right? And really understanding that your birthright is being sovereign and being the CEO of your body, the CEO of your health, as opposed to giving that away so easily and believing what other people says as the truth. And really at the end of the day, it's going back and tapping into your own innate intelligence and truth to come forward.
That's really good. That's really good. We should create a class on that, the CEO of your body. That's super good. You should have a book that comes out and that's the title. That's good stuff.
I love that. Yeah, Jamie, I completely agree. I like to tell my patients in my practice too that you know your body better than anybody else on the planet. So why am I here to tell you what is best? You need to use your intuition, your guidance, your all knowing of what is best for your body so that you need to move forward. And there's lots of tools to be able to do that. And I love that microdosing, Leigh, has given you an opportunity to really reclaim that.
It's interesting. It's been coming up so much for me lately of the ages of 3 and 4. And there was a lot of, I won't say it here, but there was a lot of bad things happening in my life at 3 and 4 years old. And it's interesting that that's coming up because you feel that maybe at 3 and 4 years old, you're part of your purest self. You're still very connected to, back then, 3 and 4 years old, I just knew I needed to talk to God. And I was talking to Justin last night about that story, and he says, I can't even imagine at that age knowing that you're going to talk to God and even knowing what that is. And I said, at that time, it was like, it was safety. That was my safe point, is talking to something that's higher. You couldn't see it. It didn't talk back to you, but you just knew if you had that connection that that was the answer to pull you out of maybe dangerous drama that was all around you, knowing that you're protected. I kind of feel like microdosing is taking me back to that I'm not going to start acting like a 3-year-old, but to that stage of that purest life. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Leigh, you mentioned that how you brought meditation as part of your morning practice. And I'm just curious if there are other wellness practices or support that you've used to really help with the integration process and this personal growth and evolution as you are working with and in collaboration with the microdose.
Mhm. EFT, the tapping definitely helps. It may not be a full round of it, but I think that sort of, not should, that needs to go hand in hand. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a full, tapping of all the things, but maybe, oh, I just noticed my shoulders are up. What's that about? What is that about? And just tuning in and saying, hey, I notice, I'm witnessing. Does this help? So EFT for sure, meditation. I did this before with clients, but I do chanting and we'll focus on, hum. And I can notice as I'm doing a certain singing bowl or a sacred instrument that is creating that tone. All of my clients now, before they would just lay there and listen to me hum that or sing that note for Sanskrit. And now, I'll be getting myself very much into it where everything else goes away. But then something pulls me out of it. I'm like, what is that? No. Oh, oh. And I'll look and the client will be on the table and they are almost singing. It's not singing, chanting louder. They're going above what I'm doing. I'm just the vessel showing them, hey, this may help. And they're taking it where before none of them would use their voice. And now a few times it's sort of interrupted me because their voice is at a higher level than I'm used to hearing. And so definitely sound, definitely chanting, feeling that connection even deeper to source. Those are a lot of tools that really help with microdosing. I feel like, of course, being in nature is definitely one, even if it's just a park. You can't get to, a really your favorite spot in nature, even if it's just the park. And maybe just holding yourself a little tighter or scheduling a little more cuddling with people that you love in your life or that you want to get closer to, of just that connectedness.
That's so beautiful. And I think, thank you for sharing that because I think that microdosing is one tool that we can use, but I love hearing you say that you are incorporating so many other practices into this other practice of medicine to really make it have more longevity, to have it expand into different aspects and different regions of your body and different applications in how you interact in the world as well. So, those self care practices and recognizing that you have a lot of other tools that you can call on to help enhance and I don't want to say the word enlighten because that has a different connotation to it, but to expand in this practice of microdosing. I think that that is wonderful. And so I want to, talk a little bit just about, the program of what your microdosing experience is, and is this something that you would recommend to other individuals?
I've already done that. Yes. Yes. I've already done that. There is a lady that I love that introduced me. She was one of the people that introduced me to sound healing years ago. And she's a little older than I am. And she reminds me a little bit of myself. And we went to dinner, I don't know, a couple months ago. And we were sitting at dinner, and her husband is talking to just, it's the typical guy thing. And she says, Leigh, do you know anyone that I don't know, could help me with my trauma and my anxiety? at this stage of my life is so high, it shouldn't be at this level. Is there anything that you recommend? And I automatically set up a luncheon with Pam and brought her to there. And last I heard, uh, she was just so in it and so taking even more steps than myself. She like took it and ran with it, and it's really helping her. So I only recommend stuff I mean, I do it all the time because there's so much goodness in our world, and there's so many people that other people need to be in touch with for different things. But I only recommend to other people the highest and the best quality of what people are either promoting with their services, with their creations that they make, because we don't want to send anybody to anything that's, shyster or shady or anything. We want the best for all the people around us. And so connecting this person and seeing her just like barely take a morsel of the offering, here, this is who you should talk to. And last I heard, she's way past what I've been doing. So yes, recommend to everyone, recommending it to everyone, not just to fix your traumas, not just for this or that. It's just whether it's the stage of your life that you're going through and maybe you feel stuck, different diagnosis that you get, a way to just enhance you as a human and have that connection to a teacher, that the teacher goes into your system and kind of like cleans the classroom. Definitely, for sure.
Oh God, that's so beautiful. You're gonna give me tears and blessings. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And as many of you may know, Psychable has paired with SETA Seminary, and we've collaborated on this really comprehensive program called the Microdosing Method. And it's an educational program designed to explore what microdosing is as a tool for wellness and personal growth, with the added benefit of whole body integration practices that really solidify this long term meaningful change. And we go into diet and lifestyle and sound healing and hot and cold therapy and cleaning up your environment so that you really can create this meaningful, lasting change and bring this into a holistic practice in your life. So, thank you so much, Leigh, for sharing your beautiful story in this journey that you have taken with the mushrooms. And I'll hand it over to Jemie.
Thank you so much, Reverend Leah. Leigh, I'm just curious, is there anything else that wants to be named or shared in our
Mm.
remaining time together?
Thank you for asking me that. I would say the biggest thing that I want to share is gift yourself. Gift yourself this tool to help you move out of any fear that might be in your life, any past traumas, a new way of seeing yourself in a different life, and just knowing that tools are all around you to help you be the best version of yourself, and don't be afraid to pick them up. Because what is the worst thing could happen? You could fall asleep during meditation. You could take some of the microdosing and recognize you're not overthinking, recognize that you're open to healing any past traumas. Be a warrior, step up, connect to that purpose and passion that is you, let go of fear, and just set the intention to be your best self, however that looks or feels for yourself.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Leigh. That has been
Thank you.
such an incredible, valuable conversation. And I know that it's going to impact many, many people who receive your message. So thank you, Leigh, for sharing your incredible life experience, your journey to where you are today, and for all of your incredible wisdom and insights. And thanks to everyone who has joined us today. And if you'd like to learn more about the microdosing method and how to integrate these practices into your journey, feel free to check the link in our bio. And thank you, everyone. Again, thank you, Reverend Leah. Thank you, Leigh. Take care and many, many blessings. Be well.